Now, it's been a great harvest season here at the Anderson Experimental Garden. You know, we harvested our onions about a week and a half ago, but I'm going to show you the process that I've gone through to get them to where they're at right now. So the onions were planted out here in our garden, and all the tops started dying down about the 1st of August, which was a little bit too early. I don't like to harvest my onions that early, and sometimes you will have problems through storage if you harvest them a little bit too soon. So they were still alive, they were still growing, but the tops had kind of died down. So I left them until about the end of August, and at that point we'd had some good weather. It looked like we weren't going to get rain for a couple days, and so I came out and I took all the onions and I pulled them up and I turned them over so they're almost sitting on their top, but so that the sides and the root system especially was exposed on the bottom. And so I exposed that root system of all those onions and turned those over. I mean, look at the size of the onions. They're just beautiful this year. Huge onions. They're going to keep great, but really to get them to store well, we want to turn those onions over and expose that root system. And I left them out in the garden for 2 days and let the root systems just dry up on those onions. So we want to turn those onions over, expose the root system, and let them dry for a couple days just right out in the garden, right out in the full sun. And as those roots dry, they'll become brittle and they'll just crumble in your fingers as you touch them. After the 2 days, I gathered those all up, put them into the wheelbarrow, and took them to our barn, which is a nice, warm, dry, shady location. And we'll take the onions, put them in that barn where it's warm and dry, and where the sun doesn't shine on them, and we'll spread them out so that they can dry. And what's going to happen is we're going to leave them there for probably 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even 4, depending on what the weather does. And in that time period, those onions are going to develop that hard, crusty exterior skin it's going to have that nice rich golden color on the yellow onions. You know, it's going to be white on the white onions, but as they develop that hard outer wrapper skin, that's what's going to protect the onions during the storage season. So as we gathered those up, put them in the wheelbarrow, just left the tops right on there. And so as the tops dry, they're gonna dry up. We're gonna give them those 2 or 3 weeks to kind of prep and prepare those onions for storage. Then towards the end of October, 1st of November, I'll take the onions, I'll trim the tops off, so we'll cut all the tops off the onions. The roots will be all dried and gone. The exterior skin will be nice and firm and dry, and then I'll hang them up in some mesh bags in the basement for them to store through the winter time. So we want to keep it at about 38 to 45 degrees on the onions, nice and warm, not warm, sorry, nice and cool and dry, and maybe just a little teeny bit of humidity. And so not a lot of humidity, but we want it to be dry and we want it to be cool in that area we're going to keep those onions. And this particular variety's Big Daddy. My white onions are the Dulce Grande, and they're going to keep for 4 to 6 months, maybe even a little bit longer. So it's not unusual for us to be able to keep these onions until February, March, maybe even until April, and enjoy those onions all winter into the springtime as well too. So great harvest on the onions this year, very excited about it. And these guys are going to go right back into their storage location so they can get ready for prepping them for winter.